Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Al-Fatihah. الآخرة وإلى حضرة النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نويت التعلم والتعليم والتذكر والتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله والدعاء إلى الهدى والدلالة على الخير وابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. So to continue for our daras on Kitab Risalatul Jami'ah by Habib Ahmad bin Zaid al-Habshi. We are still at the chapter of Zakat. Yeah, okay, just to recap. Types of obligatory Zakat we have covered. Okay, as we know, there are two main parts. Zakat on wealth and Zakat on body. So the wealth part we have covered. There are 6. We have covered 5. So we are left with the last one, Zakat on trade goods or merchandise. Zakat Zakat Tijarah. So Zakat on trade goods is actually very similar on with Zakat on gold and silver, because it's in reality is the Zakat on your gold and silver, or actually your money. As now we are using paper money, paper currency. So it's actually the Zakat on that which is being kept as trade goods. So it's being stored actually. So it's actually the same. So you actually can pay if you calculate properly, you can actually just pay 1. That's enough. But if just to go through on the Zakat, there's a method how to trace your zakatable zakatable goods. So this Zakat on trade goods is actually is normally mentioned after the Zakat of gold and silver, as they normally overlap, and they are actually the same. They're very similar and have the same rate also. That's why they have the same rate, because it's actually calculating your savings, which is currently being used or stored in your business as trade goods, as merchandise. So okay, just is some what is that? Just notes, earnings and their superiority in the Sharia. So in the Sharia, the ulama have specified the best, the most superior way of earning, the best type of earning is actually the ghanimah, through ghanimah, war booty. Second one is agriculture or farming. Third one, production, anything using your hand, craft and carpentry and all this, using your hands. So you are producing something. And the last one, the fourth, is trade. Then comes all the other professions. So as you can see, trading or business is actually a very noble and reputable way of earning in the Sharia. And trading is considered noble and blessed profession, as long as there are no dishonesties involved, or they call it, there's no risha. So it's actually dishonesty here. And will normally have barakah if one is honest and do not go against the rulings of Sharia, the guidelines of doing business in Sharia, business tradings. And the Prophet ﷺ as we know, he was a trader who worked for Sayyidah Khadijah, who later became his wife. So it is considered a sunnah to be a trader or a businessman, especially a trader, engaged in trading of goods. That was what Rasulullah SAW did. So sources from the Quran and Hadith on Zakat Tijarah from the Quran, O you who believe, give of the good things which you have honorably earned. Surah Al-Baqarah. So Muslim scholars have interpreted this verse to refer to tradable commodities or commercial goods. So this is the proof from the Hadith, from the Quran, that Zakat Al-Tijarah, Zakat trade, Zakat on trade goods is obligatory. And from the Hadith, it was related that Samurah bin Jundab had said, the Messenger of Allah SAW had commanded us to pay zakat out of which we have provided for trade. Sunan Abu Dawud. And there are many other hadiths which point towards the obligatory of paying zakat for businesses and trading trade goods. So not the whole business or the whole trading is zakatable. So when we say trade goods, that's why it's not zakat. In the Arabic is called zakatu urud tijarah. So urud is actually something like goods. So the goods are being are liable for zakat. So merchandise or goods other than gold and silver that are purchased or owned with the intention of profiting from their sales. So the key points are, it must be goods or merchandise other than silver and gold. Gold and silver is exempted because they have their own. They have their own zakat ways, zakat method. So if you trade in gold and silver, then there will be no zakat on zakat tijarah, on trade goods. There's no zakat on that part. Like money changer, if you do a money changer business or forex exchange, all this, there will be no zakat on that business. But of course, the zakat is liable on zakat on gold and silver if all the conditions are met. And second key point is they must be purchased. That means there's a transaction, or if being inherited or given, then there must be an intention, and also there must be an intention of selling, buying and selling, profiting from the sales, not to keep. So if they are gold and silver, then the zakat will follow zakat on gold and silver. Same goes for currency. Same, if you like I said just now, business on money changing business, or someone who's doing forex online but the halal way, that means there's no leverage and there's no margin and all these things. He does it legally within the Sharia guidelines, then there will be no zakat, but instead the zakat will be on zakat on gold and silver. If one trades in something that has zakat on them, example 40 sheep, then the zakat will follow the zakat on livestock. But anything below the 40 sheep, when the zakat starts to be obligatory, because as we know, zakat on livestock or sheep, for camels, there should be starts on 40. So this will be paid once it hit the nisab and met the condition for zakat on livestock, then it will be liable on that path. But if it doesn't, then but it still meets the nisab on zakat for trade, then it will be zakatable within the trade goods boundary of zakat. Okay. Okay, so we will mention the conditions that necessitate paying zakat on trade goods. So once we have gone through all there are seven some books list as 6, some 7, some 3. So it depends. But it's actually they are talking about the same thing, but they are just breaking up certain points. So what I have done is I broke it down into 7 parts, seven conditions. So the first condition, in order for the zakat to be liable, obligatory, it must be trade goods. The trade goods have some condition. The trade goods here is defined as goods other than gold and silver. So, and goods traded must also not be of those which are liable for zakat on itself, like gold, silver, crops, livestock. That, let's say, like I said just now, if you are trading in, you buy camels and sheep and cows and bulls for trading. If this is done, then the zakat will be under the livestock category. If all the conditions are met. But if the conditions are not met, and the conditions for livestock, like say it doesn't meet the condition, let's say he have less than 40 camels, there's no zakat. But then the nisab on 40 camels, uh, the 40 camels value at, let's say, 10,000, which have reached the nisab, then he will be liable on zakat on trade goods. And same goes for crops and other things that so basically livestock, crops, and gold and silver will not be included in this. And if they are those which are liable for zakat, then zakat will follow their respective categories once all the conditions are met. Then the second condition will be intention of trade or business. So profits, there must be a intention. There must be an intention of doing business or trade with the purchased goods or merchandise. So profits earned from trading without the intention of trading or doing business are not liable for zakat, even if he have profited a lot. Let's say he bought a Rolex watch, cost $20,000. He bought that just for fun, or just for like, just want to. He's a watch collector, so he collects watch. So he bought a Rolex watch, $20,000. And after 3 months, someone offered him, I will buy this watch at $40,000, double the amount. And he sold. He made $20,000. So is he liable for zakat? No, he's not liable for zakat on that profit, because it's not in the first place. He did not have any intention of doing business with that. But of course, that 20,000 which he earned, and also the 20,000 which he have cashed out, so in total he got 40,000, right? So this thing will be payable. This will be zakatable under gold and silver. Savings, his savings will still be zakatable. So zakat for trade goods is also not applicable for goods that are kept with the intention of keeping them for future use or collectibles. Even if he decide to sell them and made a big profit later. Like let's say he bought an antique car, a car which is antique. It's a collector's item. So he bought it, and after 10 years, he sold it at a profit. But he have no intention of doing business. So all those 20 years, he will not have to pay any zakat for the car, because it's not considered as trade goods. So he bought a car at $10,000. After 10 years, he sold it at $100,000 because it's an antique car. But for that 10 years, within that 10-year period, there's no zakat on that car because there's no intention of trade for the car. So it's being kept for collection, or just for the sake of keeping, or just because he likes the car he buy. So he made a profit of $90,000 after 10 years. There's no zakat on that. But of course, that 90,000 again will be zakatable under the gold and silver if they meet the condition. So of course, that 90,000 will be eligible for, will have to go through a haul of 1 year before it's considered eligible for zakat. So the third condition, possession of goods possession of goods accompanied with intention. So the possession of goods must be accompanied with intention of trade or business. So intention of trade business is present during the purchase of goods. And no need to renew the intention, and the haul will start as soon as the intention is made. So let's say he bought 500 pieces of books, 500 books, with the intention of trading. He knows he's going to sell this book. So he bought 500 automatically with the intention of trading, right? On the first day he bought the books, the haul for the books will start. So it's considered trade goods. And if one purchase the goods with the intention of keeping them, then after some time decide to trade them, then the haul for zakat will start once the work begin. That is buying or selling after the intention is made. Not at the point of intention is made, because now he bought, at the time he bought the books, he didn't make any intention to buy and sell the books. He just buy for the sake of buying. Maybe he likes the books a lot, so he bought 500 pieces just for collection. Or maybe he thought he want to give away the 500 books. But after 6 months, he said that, okay, I think I want to sell and make some profit because there's a demand on these books. So at the point he made intention, still the haul haven't started. The haul for the trade goods has not started. But once he sell the first piece, then starts the whole haul for the book start, because now it's considered he's really engaging in trading or business. Before that, it's just keep. Not at but the difference is, if he buy with the intention of trade and business, then the haul will start immediately at the purchase. Once you purchase with the intention of trading or business, then the haul immediately starts. If he bought the goods on credit, zakat is still liable on him if all the conditions are met. Even if he cannot pay his debts for the goods yet, he can pay later, but the zakat should be accountable because it's considered his. It's just that he have not paid. He's in debt, but it's considered the goods are his. So of course it will be counted as zakatable. Have to be evaluated. The goods have to be evaluated. Number 4, possession of goods should be through a transaction. So this means that the possession of goods that are considered trade goods should be through a transaction. That is buying or selling or trading. That's how he get his goods. But if the possession is not through a transaction, like gifts or sadaqah, alms, or inheritance, he inherited a house, one big house, then they will be considered not a trade good, but they can be turn into a trade good, they can be considered to be a trade good if once the act of buying and selling starts with the intention of trading. So at that time, the whole will start, and it will be considered as trade goods. Like the same example like just now. Let's say Z inherited a house worth $1 million. So after he got the house for free, inheritance. So there's no buying and selling. After 6 months, he decided that. So of course, inheritance, there's nothing on him. Even after 10 years or so, he don't have to pay zakat on the house because it's just his house. There's no it's just a house. There's no zakat. There's no tax. In Islam, there's no tax on house, and there's no zakat on house because it's considered a necessity, and it's just not zakatable. But once after 6 months, let's say, after 6 months, he decide to sell the house with the profit of he decide to turn this into I mean, what is that? A trade good. So he sell the house. After 6 months he made intention to sell the house. So, but 3 months later then he sold. So when does this house turn into a trade good? Is after 9 months, because the first 6 months nothing, he got it as inheritance, and after 3 months, after that, he at the 6 months point, he made intention to sell, but he did not sell. But after 3 months, he sold. So at the point that 9 months is where he made the first transaction. He's selling. That's where the house become trade goods. So that money he got, the whole starts. So if he buy again, then the house becomes a trade good only when the what is that, the act of buying or selling starts. And he can also buy another house with that house, like he exchange. So that's considered buying and selling also. Number 5. The 5th condition is not cashing out the trade good when it is below nisab within the whole period. So this means selling them all, must be all. Let's say his stock is 1 ton of sugar. That's what his trade good is. Okay, 1,000 pieces, 1,000 books, 1,000 books. He have 1,000 books, 1,000 books, and he sold all. He sold off all. That is that means he's cashing out. So once he cash out, and it's within the whole period, then what is that? The trade goods will be not what is that? He must first sell all, and it's within the whole period. That means the whole has not reached 1 year and is below the nisab. Once this happen, then the whole will break and new one will start once the nisab is met. For the money received, there will be no zakat. But of course, if he have money outside, then he have to combine all the money and see whether it's zakatable. So if cashed out within the whole period and the value of money received reach the nisab, then the whole will continue and transferred to the zakat of gold and silver. If cashed out after the completion of whole and after paying zakat on the trade goods, that means that after 1 year, then he cash out. After 1 year, he pays whole, he pays the zakat, then he cash out. The whole from the money received will be transferred to gold and silver as well. So once cashed out, all the gold and silver in his possession need to be considered to determine whether the nisab is met and whether the hole breaks or not. So the nisab will not break if the hole will not break if there is he have other gold and silver in possession outside the business in his saving, and it's above the nisab. Then total of whatever he has cashed out and whatever he have in his saving is above the nisab, the hall will not break and he will have to continue the hall. So but if he have not cashed out, then no problem, the trade goods will it will still be considered as trade goods and the hall will continue. Number 6, no intention of hoarding. There is no intention of hoarding the goods in his possession for collection or future use, like his own. He buy 5 mattresses. His intention is to use one by one. Up to him. He can keep it, no zakat. He can buy 1,000 books and just for collection, no problem. So because his collector's item, like I said just now, he got 20 cars or 100 cars collection. It's his hobby. He got his money. He got the money. It's his money. It's up to him. And there's no zakat if there is intention of hoarding or collection or keeping. But once his intention is to do business, then the zakat will kick in. The hall will start. Using goods meant for trade but with no intention of keeping or usage will not break the hall because he still intend to trade them. Like an example is he buys a car with an intention to sell. He got it cheap. He bought a car for $5,000. He knows this car can sell for 10,000. So he bought it. He did a few repairs, and he want to sell at 10,000. But while looking for a buyer, he used a car. That doesn't break the hall for the car because it's still considered as trade goods because he is intention to sell the car. So anything can be considered as trade good as long as the reality is actually anything can be a trade good as long as your money is being stored in the value that your money is being stored in the good. So it's actually taking out some money from your saving and putting into the trade goods. So that's why is related the zakat of savings and zakat of tijarah. And number 7, it must have reached the nisab after completion of the haul during his possession of the goods. So there's for the zakat urud tijarah, zakat on trade goods, there's a bit special because you don't need the nisab to be throughout the haul. It's sufficient if the nisab is the value meets the nisab at the end of the haul. So it is not a condition for the goods to reach the nisab except at the end of the haul. So then let's say he started a business with $5,000 and the nisab is 7,000. Let's say an example is nisab 7,000 and he don't have any other savings. We just take it simple. So Muharram he start a business $5,000 with a capital of $5,000. The next Muharram he has not cashed out. So Muharram starts, the hole starts, right? For the $5,000. It's below the nisab, but the hole doesn't break because this is zakat tijarah. It doesn't need to have the nisab to throughout the hole. So at the next Muharram, he value his business, and found that the value of his goods is actually $12,000. So now he has made profit from 5,000 to 12,000. At the end of the haul, that is the next Muharram, he has $12,000 worth of goods. So now he have to make the zakat on $12,000. Even if he started with 5,000, which is below the nisab. So if the nisab is attained at the start or middle of the haul, but at the end of the haul it is below the nisab, then no zakat is liable. In the nisab, say opposite, he started a business with $10,000, and then at the middle of the haul, at the end of the haul, he valued his goods is actually $5,000. The market has went down. His good has suffered some loss. His good is now devalued, so is now valued at 5,000. So now he don't have to pay any zakat, even if even though he started his business with 10,000, which is which is above the nisab. So at the end of the haul, if the nisab is below uh, the if the value of trade good is below the nisab, then there's no zakat. So the nisab is determined from the value of trade goods at the end of the haul, based on the money it was purchased with. So if it was bought with gold, dinar, then it has to follow the dinar nisab. If dirham for silver, then follow the silver nisab. So, but for now, nowadays we don't use all this. We use paper money, so have to follow the nisab on that also accordingly. So for paper money, it's almost the same everywhere. It's plus minus the same. But must consider the time, because the nisab or paper money will fluctuate. Although it doesn't fluctuate too much, but it does fluctuate depending on the market, mostly on the price of gold. So the same thing, nisab of pure gold 20 dinars and nisab of pure silver 200 dinars. So those are the 7 conditions to be met before the zakat of trade goods are liable. So the rate for zakat on tijarah is the same as zakat, the rate of what is that? Gold and silver, which is 2.5%. Once all the conditions are met, then 2.5% of whatever he has is liable for zakat. So it doesn't matter. The increment is the same. The more you get, or the less you get, as long as it's above the nisab, then it's 2.5% of whatever you have. So briefly, how does how does a trader calculate zakah on trade goods? He will first evaluate. He will evaluate the merchandise with him according to its present worth. So let's say it's now 1 year. It's the end of the haul. So he have to evaluate all whatever goods he have in his store or factory or office or whatever. So he will have to evaluate using wholesale price, market price, or cost price, or mix of each of these prices, depending on how he plan to sell his goods. So he will have to estimate. If he don't know how to do it, then he will have to engage ahli khibrah, someone who knows how to estimate the goods, the price, the value of goods. So, but most businesses, they will have to use wholesale price, not the cost price and not the selling price. But if you know your stuff, you don't do wholesale, you don't do consignment, you don't do wholesale, you don't give discounts, because your stocks are like maybe those of high quality and there is demand. So in this case, you will have to use selling price, the market price of that item. But if the book like you ordered books, if the goods have been ordered and paid but he have not received them, then he will calculate them as cost price, because the books have been ordered, let's say have been ordered, but you have not received, but you have paid. So now your money have been stored there. You have paid $1,000, let's say $1,000. So now if you have, if you sell these books, it will be $3,000. The selling price for all these books will be 3,000, just an example. So but you have not received, so anything can happen. You can receive damaged books, you may not receive. They might return you the money. They say, I cannot produce you the books, I will return you the money. But you can confirm $1,000 is yours. You know $1,000 is there. So that's why you can calculate as cost price in this case. But if you have stock, the current stock in your warehouse and all, then you will have to use wholesale price. And certain, like let's say you do out of all your stocks, 30% will do 30% will go to end buyers. That means you sell at the market price. Then the other 70% will go for will be distributed at wholesale. So you have to calculate like that. So 70% of your stocks will be calculated as wholesale, then 30% will be calculated as market price. But if you're not too sure, then you have to estimate. You have to estimate and take the best case scenario. That means where in zakat always take the where you will pay where you will end up paying more to be safe. Take the safer side. Like let's say you take the market price, you won't go wrong there. But of course you will pay more. But most businesses, you don't have to calculate at market price. Most will do wholesale price, because when you calculate zakat, it will be calculated at a wholesale. So the whatever you have, if let's say one shot I sell all this, that's how much I will get. So that there is an opinion on this also. Some scholars in the opinion that wholesale price will be taken. Some say you have to see how much, what you are selling, how you are selling. So you have to do accordingly. Wholesale plus market price and all. Market price, wholesale price. You have to mix all depending on how you plan to sell your stuff. And then after he have evaluated his merchandise, he adds whatever currency he has in his savings and whatever, whether this is for business or otherwise, whatever savings you have, he adds into the equation. Then he adds whatever money he has loaned and be guaranteed for and be guaranteed of its settlement. There's a guaranteed, like just now I said, what is that? Books, guarantee, or someone who have pledged you, okay, I'm going to give you $1 million loan, letter of guarantee for 1 million, and all this. All this will be have to be added, and then he subtract from this sum amount he owes this company invoices, this and that, and whatever he owe, he minus, then that sum times 2.5%. That's what he will pay. If it meets the nisab. If it's below the nisab, then there's no zakat. So that's the briefly how you calculate on zakat Tijarah. And only trade goods are liable for zakat. These are just notes. Only trade goods are liable for zakat. Services not liable for zakat. If you are a teacher and you do tuition, you don't sell goods. You sell your skills and your services. Then there's no zakat. There's no zakat for services. Offices, factories, racks, furniture, equipment for production, vehicles used for transporting goods, personal items are all not zakatable, as these are liabilities for the business. Like let's say you have a clothing store and you have racks to hold your clothes and mannequins and an office with workers and furnitures and TV and sofa and fridge, refrigerator and oven, the pantry and whatever, all this won't be zakatable. It won't be liable for zakat because they are not the actual goods which gonna be sold. But containers, wrappers, casings and all this used to pack the goods, if they increase the value of the goods, then they are liable for zakat because this will be sold to the customer. Let's say you have books. You have books, you sell books. But when you sell your books, you give a very nice paperback. And because of that paperback, you jack up the price. So you are actually selling the whole thing. The end product is the book with the paperback. So of course that paperback will be, you have stock of that paperback, 1,000 pieces, that will be evaluated in your zakat. But if it's just a plain paperback where you used to give out your books, you can have some logo. It's just, it doesn't appreciate the what is that? It doesn't increase the price of the good. Then it's not zakatable because it's not liable for the evaluation of the zakat because it's just something you pack, something you pack. But some scholars they take wholesale. They say anything that eventually reaches the customer, then that will be liable to be evaluated. That will have to be evaluated. That's a simpler way. But some others say that as long as if it increase the value of goods, then they are liable. Then they will be evaluated for zakat. If not, then no. Like just a plain paper bag, just simple plastic bag, and just bubble wraps on all this. All this no need to pay zakat. There's no need to be evaluated for zakat. Then buildings, cars, lands, etc., bought with the intention of renting them out for profit. These are not zakatable. These are not liable because you don't intend to sell. You just intend to rent out. So there's no zakat. But of course, the profit you get, then it will be under the zakat of gold and silver if they meet the conditions. That means they have to go through whatever you have. You go through the hall and all this, and everything is met and zakatable. But the building itself, the land itself, there's no zakat. Unless you bought the land, if the buildings or lands or cars are bought to be sold with the intention to be sold, then they will be, let's say you buy a building valued at 500,000. Not a building, a house, just a house. One house, you bought a house at $500,000 with the intention of selling to gain profit, right? So after 1 year, you have not sold the house. So at the end of that 1 year, you have to pay 2.5% of 500,000. Then second year, you still haven't sold the house. There's still no buyer. Then you will still have to pay again 2.5%. But let's say after 6 months, you made the intention of, let's say, okay, you bought a house. Then after 6 months, you bought a house with the intention of selling. But after 6 months, you decide, this is getting too hard. Cannot. I think I will just stay in the house. Or I don't want to sell. Instead, I want to rent it out. Then there's no the hall will stop. And after 3 months later, or even the next month, you start, you think again, you say, I think I'm still going to sell the house. So the hall will start again, not continue, but start again. That means, okay, let's say Muharram, you bought a house. Then at Ramadan, you said, no, I think I won't sell. I think I just will stay here. I'll live in it. I'll live in the house. So you live in the house for a few weeks. Then Shawwal comes, you change your mind. You say, I think I'm still going to sell the house. So the new haul will start in Shawwal, not continue from Muharram. Muharram to Ramadan. Ramadan stop because you broke the intention. You made the intention of hoarding. You made the intention of staying in the house, keeping the house, not for sale. So the haul broke. But in Shawwal you restart your intention. Okay. In Shawwal you restart the intention. So the intention, I mean mm, the haul doesn't start yet because now the thing has become your possession. So it will only start when there's buying and selling of the house. Okay, so an example of the how to calculate the zakat. Okay, Zaid starts her business with $10,000 and used to buy merchandise to be sold. At the end of the haul, he evaluates his merchandise and found it to be valued at 12,000. So now he pays 2.5% of 12,000. That's an easy one. Very easy method. Straightforward. Second one, Z started her business with $10,000 and used to buy merchandise to be sold. Before the haul ends, he sold all his goods and cashed out $12,000. Before the haul ends. So he started with 10,000. After 6 months, let's say, he cashed out. He sold all the merchandise and he got $12,000. So Zaid now will pay zakat 2.5% of $10,000 at the end of the haul, not now. He will pay at the end of the haul. As for the balance of 2,000, a new haul will start once he cashed out. Once he cash out, that 2,000 starts a new haul. But of course, to make life simpler, you can pay 2.5% at the same time. When you pay for of the 12,000, when you pay zakat for the 10,000, you pay the zakat for the 2,000 as well. That can be done. Advance zakat, you pay advance. So you don't have to keep track of that 2,000. But if actually the 2,000 is not liable for zakat yet. The liability of the zakat for $2,000 will start because the haul will start once it's cashed out. But for the 10,000, the haul have already started. So after 6 months, it's like halfway through the haul. But for the 2,000, it's just being cashed out. So now the haul starts when it's being cashed out. So the haul is different. So you don't have to pay the zakat for 2,000 yet. But of course, you can pay advance. Okay, that's all for zakat. So inshallah, we will continue with zakat fitrah. Zakat fitrah on the next lesson. Allah alam. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربنا انفعنا بما علمتنا ربي علمنا الذي ينفعنا ربي وفقنا ربي فقهنا وفقه أهلنا وقرابة لنا في ديننا ما أهل قدر أنت وذكر ربي وفقنا ووفقهم لما ترتضي قولا وفعلا كرما وارزق الكل حلالا دائما وأخل أتقى علماء نحظى بالخير ونكفى كل شر ربنا أصلح لنا كل شؤون وأقر بالرضا منك العيون واقض عنا ربنا كل الديون قبل أن تأتينا رسل المنون واغفر واستر أنت أكرم من ستر وصلاة الله وشفى المصطفى من إلى الحق دعانا والوفاء بكتاب فيه للناس الشفاء وعلى الآل الكرام الشرفاء وعلى الصحب مصابه الغرر اللهم اهدنا بهداك واجعلنا ممن يسارع برضاك ولا تولنا وليا سواك ولا تجعلنا ممن خالف أمرك وعصاك وحسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العظيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم الحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم.